So, you've probably heard the news. The National Association of Realtors, the absolute powerhouse of American real estate, just shelled out over $1 billion to settle these massive lawsuits. And you'd think, okay, story's over, right? Crisis averted? But for some people on the inside, the real reckoning is just getting started. So, what is going on behind the scenes? Let's get into it.
That right there, that's Dan Duffy. He's the CEO of United Real Estate. And he's basically saying the lawsuits weren't the actual disease. They were just a symptom of a, quote, systemic risk that was baked right into the industry. What he means is the problems inside NAR were so deep, they put the entire market at risk of a major meltdown.
And that leads us to the billion-dollar question. Literally. The lawsuits are settled, the headlines are gone, but a really powerful group of industry leaders is sounding the alarm. They are convinced that unless something fundamentally changes, the next crisis is right around the corner. So, what are they seeing that maybe the rest of us are missing? Yeah, even with the legal battles seemingly in the rearview mirror, there's this deep, deep sense of unease. It's this feeling that the root problems, the things that caused the lawsuits in the first place, they haven't been touched. And now a group of reformers has decided they're not going to sit around and wait for the next disaster.
And this is that group. This is who's leading the charge. You've got 15 top executives, and together they represent about 100,000 agents. Think of them as the David to NAR's Goliath. And their mission isn't just to complain, it's to force real structural change from the inside out.
Okay, so to really get why this is all blowing up right now, you have to understand the emotional heart of this thing. This isn't just about some boring corporate governance debate. No, this is about a complete and total breakdown of trust between the National Association of Realtors and its very own members.
It really all starts with this number, over $1 billion. Now, to the agents on the ground, this wasn't some abstract corporate expense. This was their money, their resources, just gone. Money that they feel was completely squandered instead of being used to actually help them and their clients.
And this quote from Duffy, man, it just hits the nail on the head. The feeling isn't just that NAR lost a court case, it's a deep sense of betrayal. The feeling that NAR not only failed to protect them, but actually created the mess in the first place. So you see, this goes way, way beyond the money. Agents feel like their professional reputations took a hit, that their ability to make a living was put on the line. The source material says they are, quote, honestly furious. This isn't just business anymore, it's personal, and that's the fuel driving this whole push for change. So what are these root causes? Well, the working group points to two critical areas that they see as a total black box: NAR's governance, how it's run, and its finances. Let's start with the governance part. The first huge problem they point to is just how NAR is run. Duffy calls the fact that there are almost no independent directors on its board shocking. And what that means is, for years, NAR has basically been a self-governing club, with insiders making all the decisions, and no real outside accountability to keep them honest.
And here's the difference in a nutshell. The way it works now, you've got insiders making huge decisions, and a lot of that is based on who you know and long-term relationships. What this group is proposing is a totally different model. Bring in outside, independent experts whose only job is to make sure leadership is actually sticking to its mission. It's a massive shift from a system of relationships to a system of accountability. Now, to understand the second big issue, the money, you got to know about something called a Form 990. It's pretty simple, really. It's basically a nonprofit's public report card. It's a tax form that has to show where all the money comes from and, more importantly, where it all goes. It's supposed to be all about transparency.
And here's the thing. For years, NAR has waited until the absolute last possible second to release its 990. And like Duffy says here, even if you have nothing to hide, that delay, it just looks suspicious. It makes all the agents wonder, what is in there that you don't want us to see?
The other part of the financial problem is that NAR is sitting on a huge pile of cash. Their balance sheet is described as unnecessarily frothy. Now, you might think having a lot of cash is a good thing, but these reformers argue it just paints a giant target on NAR's back. It makes them super attractive to sue, because the lawyers know that's where the deep pockets are.
Okay, so we've got the problems on the table: a crisis of trust, murky governance, and some pretty risky financial habits. But this working group isn't just complaining. Nope, they have a very clear, very actionable plan for reform.
Their demands are really straightforward. First, fix the governance problem by bringing in those independent directors. Second, fix the financial risk by getting rid of that frothy cash pile. And third, do a real deep dive into the expenses and restructure things meaningfully.
And on that last point about expenses, they get specific. They say NAR's current attempts at cost-cutting are superficial. They believe there are tens of millions of dollars in bloated expenses that can be cut without hurting the things that actually matter, the core pillars of advocacy, training, and education for agents.
At the end of the day, this isn't just about fixing a broken organization. The goal here is so much bigger. It's about creating a completely new relationship, a new paradigm between NAR and the agents it's supposed to be serving.
This quote right here, this captures the entire vision. Just imagine an NAR that provides so much obvious, undeniable value that agents are actually excited to pay their annual dues. A world where being a member feels like a smart choice, not something you're forced into. That's the future they're fighting for.
And so that leaves us with this one final massive question. You've got the battle lines drawn between these determined reformers on one side and a gigantic, century-old institution on the other. And the outcome isn't just going to decide the future of NAR, it could reshape the entire American real estate industry. So, can it really be changed from within?